Hey guys, Team Card Freaks here once again with another deck list. This time it will be for me it's a Kaguya finger wag. She says no to. I try to say no to anything my opponent attempts to do. Kicking it off, we have Kaguya, the friend from another world. Pretty funny, pretty fun. Has a judgment of 1 light, 1 moon, and 1 any. And also, you may spend, when a moon enters your field, you may draw a card. And you may spend Moon Will as Wind Will. So that's kind of fun, but I like the other side better. Over here, however, you still have the same kind of effect. That's shiny. But you still have the same kind of effect. You may spend Moon Will as a Wind Will. Whenever you awaken a card, does not specify a resonator or anything, just a card, she gets 2 1/1 counters. So she immediately gains 200 attack and 200 defense, in addition to her base stats of 700 attack and 900 defense. Sorry you can't really see that. And her secondary effect, or her first actually activate effect, is you may tap 1 moon to cancel target automatic ability. That will not clear up, but still, tapping 1 moon will to cancel an automatic is the biggest thing now, out right now. So basically, you play a Captain Hook, and I say all you did is tap 5 will and get a 10/10 body. That's all you just did. I don't care about you bouncing stones because I just stopped you from doing it. Then her next effect says you tap 1 light will and then 1 void to prevent the next damage that would be dealt to her this turn. So I've actually used that and saved her multiple times. I even ran her whenever the Moonlit Savior first came out, and it was amazing because I would stop her from dying every turn because my opponent was sitting there constantly trying to kill her. But her next effect is why I love the card. Her God's Art, Light of the Sacred Moon. 1 light, 1 moon, and 3 any. Rest all J/resonators your opponent controls, then recover all magic stones you control. So it basically says your opponent has everything of theirs tapped or rested, and you basically just God's Arted for free. And then you may do Awakenings for 1 moon less. I don't run any Awakenings in the deck, but if I did, that would be amazing. Let's actually start looking at the deck now. Alright, the first card in the deck is Horn of the Sacred Beast. This is a control deck. This card is guaranteed to be in here. There's only one, so as soon as I play it, I normally go ahead and get rid of it, so my opponent can't destroy it or remove it from the game or nuke the field and get rid of it. I want this to be on the field for at least 2 seconds so I can use its last effect. Banish this card. Target player shuffles all magic stones from their graveyard into the magic stone deck, then shuffles all other cards from the graveyard into the main deck. Incredibly good and incredibly useful in the deck. Now the next card, we're running Kaguya. Let's get that one. We're running Kaguya, so she needs flying. Your interdimensional vessel Apollo. Your J-Roller gains flying. Just blunt, there it is. Your J-Roller can fly. And since we are using Kaguya, you may rest, produce Moon Will. You can only use it to do Awakenings, or to do Judgment, or God's Art abilities of a J-Ruler with Kaguya in the name. Which we are using Kaguya, the Moonlit Savior. So the amazing card, and has the last effect of tap, banish this card, bounce target resonator you control back to the hand. I will show you some resonators I use this on, just to get the effect again. Getting into the spells and additions of the deck, the first is a card I don't think I need in the deck, but I want y'all to tell me about it. Tell me about it in the comments. But Barrier of Shadows. I don't really like the card because it's good for the fact that your opponent has to actually pay for Regalia abilities, and they have to pay one more to do Judgment or God's Arts. But it's not that, to me it's one darks, and I do have that. I'll get to the stones at the end of the near the end of the video. But this, I don't really like the card. It's not that fun. It's not as fun as the deck. Like, this is a fun killer. I don't like it. Just Next card, the Charm of the Princess. You may tap. It is 2 blue will and X void, and gain control of target resonator with total cost of X or less. So say you accidentally tapped, say your opponent has that Arthur on their side of the field, he can't be targeted by he cannot be targeted by fire or darkness spells or abilities. But guess what? This is a water spell. I've stolen an Arthur before. I've stolen many large resonators just because of this card here. My opponent would get cocky, they'd play something huge, and then they would get cocky and say, "Oh, I'm not gonna swing. I pass my turn to you." That's where they messed up. They allowed me a turn. I called a stone and I tapped out. I tapped myself out to play this card, and I stole their win condition. Next, we are getting into the higher mounts. Well, we're up to the 2s. Lapis's Dark Storm. Your opponent discards a random card, and then they choose a card to discard. Sorry. For 2 dark mana, you get to neg your opponent 2 cards. Amazing card. And I only run 2 because I've had one of these in my hand and not seen a single dark stone. And then at one point I had both of them in my hand. And I got my black stones at the end of the game. And I lost that game, but amazing card. If I could have played it, I could have wiped out my opponent's hand at any point in time. Next, we have, of course, Wind Secluded Refuge. 1 wind will and 1 void. When this card enters your field, you actually have to draw a card. Don't know why they made it mandatory. You're gonna do it anyway. But the second effect is when a spell or ability your opponent controls targets a J/resonator you control, you may banish this card, and if you do, cancel the spell or ability. I've used this to cancel Steam Explosion. After I cancel Steam Explosion, my opponent, they added the card back to their hand and everything, and I ended up winning that game because I had both of these played, and I ended up constantly canceling his Steam Explosion every time he added it back. So, amazing card. It can cancel with just about whatever you want, and yeah, pretty good card. Next is another card that gets over big untargetable stuff. Death at Midnight. It's 1 dark, 1 void, quick cast. Your opponent banishes a resonator, and then all of your opponent's J/resonators get a +1/+1 counter. You don't really care about the +1/+1 counter because you're worried about that first effect. Your opponent banishes a resonator. You play this card at any point. It has quick cast, so you can do it during your opponent's turn, and they have to pick a resonator they control and get rid of it. I've used this to kill Arthur. I've used this to kill the Reflect resonator. I've used it to only use it to get rid of stuff that I can't specifically designate to get rid of. My opponent can, but I cannot. So, since Arthur cannot be targeted by darkness spells or abilities, this does not say target. Your opponent gets rid of a resonator. shot off every other resonator my opponent controlled, and then forced them to get rid of Arthur with this card. So I was a little bit happy whenever I did that. Next, we will be looking at a pretty good card, Unseen Pressure. For 1 Dark Will, destroy target resonator with 400 or less attack. That is basically every kind of ramp, resonator, Guinevere, Rook Egg. You don't really want to use it on Rook Egg, but still. It's good for time traveling emissaries. Some of the things from Vingolf that say, like the one resonator that it gains 200 attack and defense for every magic stone in a graveyard. So this is a very, very versatile card. So I'll only run 2 of it because I've actually gotten clogged with it. But yeah, still an amazing card. Next card, the Scorn of Dark Alice. Since hand is a lot of since your opponent normally has at least 1 card in their hand, you always want to know what that card is in this deck. So 2 Scorns of Dark Alice and making your opponent banish everything, and you cancel everything. Getting resonators out of their hand after you get to look at every card in their hand for 1 Dark Will. I use that, and I hope I don't get a resonator out of their hand. I hope that I get to look at their hand and I see that they're setting up for a win condition, that I can just look and then wait and hold cards to cancel. That's what this is for. Future Sight. That's all it is. Head up to the 3 ofs. Seal of Wind and Light. I've been talking about the entire time. Canceling everything. You can awaken this card, so you can actually get Kaguya. You can use her attack and defense boost effect with this card. So if your opponent has something that you don't want played, play Seal of Wind and Light, awaken it, give Kaguya the 200 attack and defense, and outright that cancels the ability. Players cannot chase to this card if you awaken it. So your opponent can't do anything if you awaken this card. And just cancel target spell. That cancels literally anything. And time for a little bit of a killjoy. This card's coming out of the deck. I'm wanting to replace it with Keen Sense, but for now, 3 Wall of Wind. It's an amazing first turn card, but late game, I've ran into the issue of my opponent they always have the will to pay for the Wall of Wind to not go off. I tap, play Wall of Wind, and they just immediately tap the stone, the extra 1 for it. And it's any will. I've had my opponent discard a Levantine just to pay to produce the will to get around this card. But still, an amazing card to have first turn. Next, we'll be looking at basically a free card, Rewriting Laws. For 1 green and 1 any, magic stones you control gain tap, produce every color until the end of the turn. Every stone you control becomes a Rose Memoria at that point. Then you recover up to 2 magic stones you control, and then draw a card. So basically, you tap 2 stones at the beginning of your turn, play this, recover those stones. So all of your stones are recovered, and they produce every color, and you get to draw a card. So as you play it, it replaces itself, and it's basically for free. Now jumping into the resonators, we have the 3 cost 1 win 2 any Sha Wu Jin. This is Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball. Wait, no, this ain't. This is Bulma from Dragon Ball. I am stupid. 800 attack and 700 defense. I always get those 2 switched up. Cards named Great Sky Sage Sun Wukong. You control gain 2/2 and target attack. We do not care about that. We care about the second effect. Your opponent pays 1 Void Will more to play Chance. I've been in a situation where I had both of these played, and my opponent could not play their Zero's Magic Light because it costed too much. Because they were using World Tree, and it's a weird deck. I don't really know how to explain it, but they could not play it because they only had 2 Light Will, and they had to pay 4 to actually play the card, and they couldn't do it. So that was actually amazing on my end that I actually thought about that. Next we have 3 Slayer of the Overlord Priscia. Now we play this card for both sides. It's 1 green, 1 any, for a 400 attack, 500 defense. When this card enters your field, this card and target J/Resonator, so you can target a J ruler with this, deal damage equal to their attack to each other. And you can tap 1 Void Will at any time to give her plus 100 attack and defense until the end of the turn. Amazing. I've used this and just started tagging off Resonators just because I didn't like them. Now we actually use the shift side of it. Possessor Princess of Love Valentina. You can play this from your hand as this side, but you have to flip it and everything. So I normally play it as Priscia first, then flip it to Valentina. But when this card is put into your graveyard from your field, gain control of target Resonator. This is the best chump blocker I've ever had because she leaves the field and I get something even bigger than her. And also, since she's blue, I've attacked into my opponent rested Arthur, and I immediately attacked with this first, and then stole their Arthur. So they didn't even get to actually wipe my field with Arthur like they could have, and I basically negged them a big Resonator on their side of the field. And we like our ramp, we love our ramp, so we play 3 of Melfi, the Sorceress of Heavenly Wind. She is a 1 green, 1 any, 300 attack, 600 defense, quick cast elf, which when this card enters your field, prevent all damage that will be dealt to a target J/Resonator your opponent that will be dealt by, this card was changed, that will be dealt by target J/Resonator this turn if you played 2 or more cards this turn. She counts herself as the second card. So if you play a Regalia at the beginning of the turn, and then you play her, you immediately get this effect. And she has she taps, produces every color. The best mana ramp card I've ever seen. Next Resonator will be 3 of Fallen Angelic Destroyer Lucifer. 2 darkness will, 2 void for a 900 attack, 900 defense flyer, and when he enters the field, your opponent banishes a Resonator. This is the Resonator I was talking about, where I add him back to my hand with Apollo, just to play him again, and make my opponent banish a second Resonator. And he has the activate effect of 1. You may pay 1 dark and 1 moon. Whenever this card deals damage to your opponent this turn, you gain that much life. You play this ability only once per turn, so you can't stack it. So you can't activate it and then activate it, so it activates twice. Only activates once, but you have 3 of them, so you can have more than 1 out on the field, but you're probably not going to because your opponent doesn't like them. Next and last but certainly not least, we have 3 of Captain Hook. 2 blue, 3 any, for a 10/10 who says when this card enters your field, choose 1. Put up to 2 target special magic stones on top of their owner's magic stone deck in any order, or return up to 2 target Resonators to their owner's hands. I've been in a situation where I use the up to, I declare the number 0 and just bounce nothing. Because I want my opponent to suffer with the fact they let me play Captain Hook. And then I will play a second hook later on. If they have one resonator, I will bounce their resonator and my hook, my other hook, or himself, just so I have one in hand if they get big. Alright guys, it's been annoying me, but I did this in the reversed order. I should have done the magic stones first, but let's do them now. So our first stones will be 4 magic stone of deep wood. 4 green blue stones, because we do run both of those colors and we kind of want to see them. But I've been in a duel where I get all 4 of these before I get a single light stone or a dark stone, and I hate it. Next, there's only 10, so we play 4 of those. 3 of Kaguya's stone, basically. Moonbreeze Memoria. Rest produce moon or light, but since we have Kaguya, that moon is also green. We now get, we basically have Blazer's effect, but it's green. We have moon, light, and green all on 1 stone. Next, we will be looking at our 3 Black Moon's Memoria, Gil Lapis's stone. Now I like this stone because of the artwork, but rest produce moon, dark, or because of Kaguya, wind. So we have 6 moon will, which is 6 green will, and then we basically have 10 green will in the deck. We always hit a green stone no matter what we do, so Wall of Wind is always viable, but I still don't like it. So that's that. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Please remember to ask someone if they want to run a Kaguya deck, and if they do, come here, because me and my friends spent a little bit of time building this. In the first test run, I won the game with it, and this actually the first control deck I've actually used, and I love it. So I hope you guys see this and you run it and you build this, and I hope you love it just as much as I do. Good day and peace.